welcome to another Doctor Who classic action figure review. Today I shall be reviewing the latest classic series release, which is the Underground Toys Forbidden Planet exclusive, 7th Doctor and Imperial Dalek from Remembrance of the Daleks 2-pack. Now, before I begin this review, for those of you who are wondering, if you're after a screen-accurate 7th Doctor and a screen-accurate Imperial Dalek from Remembrance, then you shall not find it in this pack. For some people that may not be a problem. Generally I'm quite a stickler for things like that, but I'm not too fussed with certain aspects of inaccuracies on these figures. But I shall go into that in a bit more detail. I'll begin the review by looking at the 7th Doctor, as that's sort of the main figure of this set. This figure is, as I said, meant to be based on Remembrance of the Daleks. In fact, the actual packaging says that, oh, this 7th Doctor is based on Remembrance of the Daleks. That actually isn't the case. The articulation on this figure is standard. The head can do a 360, the shoulders do 360s, biceps do 360s, the thighs and the wrists all do 360 turns. Articulation at the elbows, at the hips and at the waist, and at the knees as well. So the detail on this figure is really our main point of call. Now, when the first wave of the classic figures were announced and were sort of beginning to be released, it was then announced about wave 2. So this was back in 2008. And it was revealed that the 7th Doctor would be in wave 2, which didn't end up happening. And the 7th Doctor was meant to be based on the 7th Doctor from Ghostlight, minus his hat and minus his umbrella. Now, although that figure is still to come out later on in this year, I believe it's meant to be out in the 11 Doctors box set, this figure is meant to be slightly different. However, the sculpt that they have used is from the Ghostlight figure. Now, there have been pictures of the Ghostlight figure leaked on the internet, but even if that weren't the case, you could tell due to some points of the figure's costume. So for this figure, the chain is hanging on the outside of his scarf, which is the norm. He generally always wore the chain like that. However, as my brother rightly said, and you can actually see it on the box of the figure, in Remembrance of the Daleks, the 7th Doctor didn't wear the chain dangling out like that. It was actually tucked behind the lapel, so you could still see the clip, but the chain was hidden behind the lapel more. I'm not really too worried about that, to be honest, because this will just generally be a season 25 7th Doctor for my stories. However, one thing that they did get wrong was the colour of the chain. For some reason they've painted it gold, when in actual fact the chain is silver. So that's a bit irritating, and my brother was highly annoyed by that. The jumper has the question marks, as it should do. Unfortunately, Character Options and Underground Toys or Designworks Windsor, whoever, have messed up here, and they've actually put 7 rows of question marks from the point of the collar of the sweater. Now, the actual jumper only has 6 rows, but if you look at the prototype images for the figure on Forbidden Planet's website, it only has 6. So somewhere between the prototype stage and the production stage, they've added an extra row of question marks. I think what may have happened was the spacing wasn't quite right, or they couldn't get the spacing to work, so they added in an extra set. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it does look a bit odd because it sort of goes slightly smaller as they go down. I mean, that should just be blank, really. My biggest thing that sort of irritates me slightly is the jacket and how it hangs over the jumper. It's a bit of a shame that they only show 1 full row of question marks and then the edges of a few more. We do know that the head of Character Options isn't a fan of the 80s when it comes to Doctor Who. He thinks that's when the rot set in. He doesn't like the whole question mark thing, which I can agree on. I'm not overly fond on the question mark, especially on Sylve's jumper. But I would have preferred that we saw more of the jumper, in actual fact. But generally, apart from those things, the figure's very good. Another way you can tell that the figure wasn't actually sculpted for Remembrance of the Daleks is from the hat band. Now, unfortunately, they've only painted it red, no doubt for saving money, which is a bit of a shame. I would have hoped that they could have put some form of extra bit of pattern on there. The Paisley Scarf is cleverly done. It's just solid red paint with the blue and grey over the top. I would have preferred it to be the other way around, actually, that the scarf be completely grey and then have small red details on, because the scarf does come across as being far too red, which in the actual series it's a lot greyer and with the red paisley aspects on top. The back of the coat, really good, some nice creases and things and different seams and stuff. We have the nice strap across the back with the button, which has been nicely sculpted and detailed. And we also have the handkerchief in his pocket. Now, it's not exact to the actual prop, because it's such a detailed handkerchief that to get it on a figure like this would just be impossible. The prototype is a bit better. It does have quite a close match, actually, but again, no doubt due to costs and just due to the complexities of it, some of the details were lost, but I think overall it's not bad. And in actual fact, it's a shame that these greens and reds weren't placed on a hat band to make it that bit more accurate. And the tie as well, again, is meant to be sort of paisley. It's just a few grey splodges. It's not too bad, but again, the prototype, it looked a lot better. The trousers are really good. The sort of tartan checks, the checkered effect, really nicely done all the way around. And the Doctor's brown brogues, or his sort of spats, are also really good.